And blessed to be a part of your day. Kevin Miller in the morning here at KIDO Talk Radio. Let's go to our great friend Dave Petzo. You know, Dave, we've been going back and forth on this again and again and again on a variety of issues. I figured since this is the Petzo Center, the Petzo Financial, we haven't had a chance to hear what you have to say about the big news of the day. I've hijacked our segment a few times. So financially, where are we?
Financially, where are we? We are doing very, very well. Kevin, all of these corrections we have, and typically once per year, it's been a long time until we had this one. And it takes a little while to work through them, and it's a little choppy, and people get all nervous, and the news gets all hyped up. But fundamentally, I always come back to this. Good news is good news, and corporate profits are absolutely skyrocketing. Money's coming back to the United States from being trapped overseas because of bad tax policy. That's been fixed. Now it's coming back. We're seeing unemployment has now dropped below 4%, first time since 2000. It just is a very, very good environment, and that to me is the bottom line. And so all this noise and nonsense about stocks being overpriced, what about interest rates rising, whatever the fuss of the day is, and people just try to find the fuss of the day. If we're not in hyperventilating about one problem or another, I don't think we know exactly what to do. So Kevin, the markets have steadied themselves. We are back to positive territory. Had a great week last week, and it's positive territory for the year to date, which I think with all the noise, most people wouldn't know that.
Our great friend Dave Petzo joining us here at KIDO Talk Radio. Of course, we'll have many more years to talk about this, but Butch Otter, 3 terms, Cecil Andrus, 4 terms. Who is the better governor?
Well, they were both pretty good, I think, in fairness. I know one's obviously they have differences. I think they both presided over a state that's done well, that's kept their finances pretty conservative. The thing that I would give Butch, and again, I'm sure there was some great specifics with Cecil Andrus, but with Butch, I think his business background led him to cut back early during the Great Recession. It led him to cut back way early. That people, even in his own party, were screaming and yelling at him for these, terrible cuts that he was making that had to get worse, but they were barely worse because he had taken steps early on in the recession. And I just think he doesn't ever get any credit for that with the state in keeping us marching right through the Great Recession. It was very difficult, as we know, on most states. Ours held up very nicely, thank you. And I have to say he never got any credit for that, and I remember him doing it. It was very, very timely. And further, his business of drawing all these businesses in by reducing red tape and getting Magic Valley up and going. And I know that you wish that with all those plants were in Star, but...
Well, not Star per se. I'm a Treasure Valley guy.
I totally agree.
You being a Boise guy, I would hope that you would join the Treasure Valley and trying to, forget the Magic Valley. They're nice people there, I guess. But that business should be here.
They're part of the Idaho tribe, though. It's okay.
Loosely connected.
Yeah, I know. The ugly stepchildren. Is that what you're saying, Kevin?
Not at all. That was Dave Petzo, not me. I think people in the Magic Valley are beautiful. Just like people here in the Treasure Valley. See, I've been hanging out with these people running for office, so I've got the spin
You got the
down.
Political correctness nailed.
I do. That's me, politically correct, Kevin. Dave Petzo with us, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Are you concerned about the rising interest rates? Could that be cooling off the uber-hot housing market, not only here but across the country?
Good question. Not yet. And if rates rise dramatically, then it obviously will slow things down. And it also will have an effect both on the markets as well as overall companies as they have to borrow at higher rates. And so the answer is we're a long ways from that, Kevin, and rising interest rates right now signals a very positive economic situation, and that's what we're in right now. So it is good news that rates are going higher. Too high is a long ways away. So right now, it's good.
Dave Petzo joining us here. We've talked about this, and I've talked to realtors and others, and they say this can't continue. This hot market here. This can't continue.
You know what, Kevin? They're saying that everywhere. They really are. The economy is so good. They're saying it, whether it's in Seattle, this can't continue. My daughter tried to buy a house 5 years ago and 4 years ago and finally got one. It's a hot market when people are moving into the area, and that's exactly what's happening. And I think there are very few cold markets out there. Bound to be a few because a lot of people are showing up on our doorstep. They got to be coming from somewhere. But right now, coast to coast, housing prices are rising. They're rising rapidly. And can it remain the same? No, it won't remain the same. But it's going to remain robust for as far as the eyes can see.
Right, but we do see neighborhoods going up. We do see other things happening. We do see infrastructure being strained. And let's say you're looking for a house these days.
Yeah.
How crazy is it? It's not normal.
No.
There are people going to real estate school. By the way, I can't speak for Ray Amaya, but I'm always looking for a part-time job. Maybe you and I should go into Ray. You're welcome to join me and Dave Petso to go to real estate school. I mean, there are people going to real estate school. There's like, what is it? Maybe 1,000 listings and 8,000 brokers now.
Right. I know it's crazy. And again, we always equate when something big happens, like the Great Recession, that's what our measure for a very long time. Is, are we there again? Are we there again? Are we there again? And the answer is no. The leverage that's in the system has been wrung out. It's not like that anymore. You can't get liar loans. You have to have a job. All those things have to be proven. It's not the same circumstance, Kevin, that we were in before.
I'm with you to that degree, Dave. But on the other hand, the affordability of these homes, we're looking at the average home now in Ada County.
Yep.
It's $350,000.
Yep.
That's
and you can't find one like 200. That's not
right, but that's $350,000. What are you doing for a living that you can do that? Then you have people, maybe they get approval, and maybe they don't have the liar loans, but they're up to the gills already.
Yeah, they are, and that's what, when you're getting started whether in business or you're getting started in a career of any kind, getting that first house, that starter home. It's hard work. It's a push. You are levered up. There's no doubt about it, Kevin. But to get that first house, that's what we all were there, right?
Are we destroying the Idaho dream, though? Not to get too philosophical, when you have people coming in from California or other places where they've sold homes. And look, I don't have California envy. They played it right. They sell a home that for here would be $400,000. They sell it for $2 or $3 million.
Yep.
They come in here. Maybe they're retired. Maybe they're not. They love Idaho because it's not as spoiled as California. Mm-hmm. And yet you have people that graduate Boise State, graduate C of I, CWI, and they can't get into these homes because it's cash.
Yep.
That, to me, it's like we're eating our young.
Well, to a degree, you're right, but they're not bidding for the same houses, so they're not. These are starter homes versus
Are we building starter homes anymore? I mean, I see these. It's funny when people come to visit me, which is very rare. My parents, they go, "Look at these big houses. Who lives in these big houses?"
We do out west have a little bit more elbow room, don't we?
Right.
But you can go out, as you know, on your way out to Star. There's subdivisions that are popping up, and there certainly are out towards Kuna that have already been built and are being built that are starter homes.
Right, but those are going for like $250.
I know, but I'm saying they were going for $125 or whatever.
And by the way, for people that are just tuning in, Dave Petso has been here many, many years. I've been here almost 9 years. But we can go back to 2010, 2011, when the median home price in Canyon County was cut in half from, what was it? Was it from 140 to 70, I think?
Yeah.
That was the price, which was amazing. Ada County, maybe it was like 200 or $150 or something like that. That was only 6, 7, 8 years ago.
Yep.
And now we see the total role reversal coming here.
We do.
So for a lot of people, it's culture shock. Remember Time Magazine when we were going, hey, is home ownership a thing of the past?
Right. Yeah. And we're seeing it now. For me, though, Kevin, you ask a really, to me, a multifaceted question there. I think that I'm sad to lose Idaho because
Are we losing Idaho?
yeah, we are because it's a big metropolitan area, and you see this. I shared this on Saturday, but I'll give you an idea of the kind of thing.
Hey, you were on the road on Saturday.
First
by the way.
Thursday, yes, that was. It was a family deal. Yep. Anyway, you do a First Thursday thing. You go downtown. It's not just the politics of the thing, but to have F Trump cards in the middle of downtown Boise. That's what they had at the store, and we were blown away.
They were at it was a store.
It was a store. It was a gift store right in downtown, and it was a gift store. And I'll tell you honestly, the reaction of my girlfriend at the time was, "Hey, I love this place. I've never been here before. This is fantastic. I can't wait to come back and shop here until we get to the card rack." So it's not just the politics, but politics plays a part. It's like you're moving here. There's an edge to that. Nobody had an F Obama card, right? That wasn't here in flyover country. We didn't have any of that. There was a respect for the office, and there's not. And that, to me, is that big city thing that Idahoans wouldn't be like that, and we weren't like that not long ago.
Well, you can see it in parking lots when the guy just doesn't give the pedestrian the right of way, zooms by. You can always tell it's crazy. But as Ray Amaya points out, we're losing Boise, not the rest of the state. I have talked to political operatives within the Republican Party, and they say, look, the libs are going out. They're going out to Meridian, too.
You bet they are.
So we could see a major turnover, which brings us to the election. Could you ever see A.J. Belukoff, which I believe he will win the primary? I don't believe that Paulette Jordan is the Bernie Sanders of Idaho. I don't think that the millennial young progressive vote is that strong in this state. I believe that A.J. wins. Could you see A.J. Belukoff, because of this fracture within the Republican Party and this newfound source of progressivism, possibly be the governor?
I don't think so. I don't think we're just too conservative at this point. And also, the Democrats have proven time and time again that they are just anti-Trump. They have no ideas. There is no idea to solve any problem, to address any problem, except we do not accept a legitimate election. And Democrats who are trying to run are all running away from their party core. And yet when we get down to important votes, or we get down, for example, what has happened and transpired in D.C. over the past month, even 2 months, has been incredible. We now have a potential deal with North Korea, right? We're working on immigration. We've already had tax policy, regulations. Many of these are actually Democrat positions. I heard a Democrat say he didn't go far enough on the drugs, prescription drugs. They're mad because he stole an issue of theirs that they haven't done anything for 30 years. This is the Democratic Party. We don't do anything, but now we stand there and we've done nothing when we had power. We did nothing as a legislative body. We did nothing when we had the presidency. Now we want to stand there and make sure that this is an illegitimate president. I think that just doesn't play in Idaho. It only plays in very liberal places.
Our great friend Dave Petzo with us, talking about the state of the state. We'll talk more about that coming up next, and how fiscally sound is the Gem State. More on that with Kevin Miller at KIDO Talk Radio. KIDO Talk Radio, Kevin Miller in the morning here. Dave Petzo with us. So we take a look at the election. A lot of us get fired up about it, but there truly is only a small percentage of the people that vote in a primary as opposed to a general, and even smaller when you consider it's not a presidential year. So do we get the government we deserve? Since I'm predicting, I hope I'm wrong, I don't think there'll be record turnout on Tuesday.
I'm not sure that there will be either. I don't know that's that burning thing for people. But I agree with you. But I mean,
when you're on the streets and in the boardrooms, and when you're hanging out with Buffett and all those folks, are they talking about this election? Oh
yeah, they are. It's focused. Kevin, I agree with you. The primaries are always about, just like a city council, who's going to get their people to actually show up? Can who's going to get the bus filled with people, get them to the polling places and that kind of stuff? Who's going to get it done? It's which people are really going to take the time and turn out. But I think that the primary is a confusing thing. And the reason I think it is confusing for me. When do you declare? You can't vote. It's a closed deal for the Republicans, right? So if I declare that I'm a Republican, how do I do that? Do I do that election day? Do I have to send something else in? I don't think there's a kind of clarity for what people should do about this. I'm sure it is when you sign up. But my point is that I had that question today, and I think, what do I do? How do I actually vote in a primary? I don't think we do a good job of letting people know how that works.
Indeed. And when we take a look at what's next for Idaho, a few years ago we had the challenge of cul-de-sacs being empty, schools not being filled.
Yep.
Now it's the exact opposite.
Yep.
Now, it's still not too late for you to jump into this race as the write-in, beloved candidate of your choice. So, your thoughts on the challenges of a brand new legislature,
yep,
of a brand new lieutenant governor and a brand new governor, working with you people, the business people.
Right. These are first world problems, but they are problems either way. Growth is a good thing to have, to worry about. But I do think that we need to address it, and I also think that we have to address what I see as a kind of a good old boy network down in downtown Boise. I think we need to address that. All of the very well-off and very well-connected developers get all the money. I'm one of the people that pays all that money. So in the AC...
I want to thank you for paying all that money.
Thank you. You're welcome, Kevin. And then the decisions are made off the grid. I mean, they're not, I don't know what decision they're making. I know that buildings down there that are big and sell very expensive condos get $1 million gifts out of this tax pool. And I don't know how to get that. And I think that that's a big problem that needs to be addressed.
Maybe you should lobby with us every Monday or on Saturday. You could just lobby for that.
Well, if you were I'd love to do that. That'd be great.
We don't have a lot of sway with Mayor Beater.
No,
but,
I don't.
Neither do I, but maybe with the new administration. More with Dave Petzo next. Traffic and weather. Back to Dave Petzo, Kevin Miller in the morning here. Phone number is 580-5436, 580-KIDO. We were talking earlier about Donald Trump's decision. You even mentioned this when we're talking about prescription drugs, taking that issue away. Now, Richard Nixon tried to do that before, and everybody goes back to, when Nixon tried to put price controls on, the prices went out of the world. Yeah. So, as a non-big government guy, Dave Petzo, as a non-big government guy, what do you do about the prices for drugs comparing us to Canada or to Mexico?
Right. I think that right there is I think one of the driving things that ticks off Donald Trump. Now, let's back up and say, look, that the cheapest solution to all medical problems is prescriptions. And if we want them to come up with new, amazing drugs that make us live longer, feel better, then they need to have billion-dollar drugs to spend billions of dollars. The average drug costs $1 billion to develop. That's amazing. It's an astounding number. And because there's so many failures. So they need to have this pool of money. But who is providing that pool of money is the huge question of fairness in this. And the United States of America has been banking the whole thing because we allow these companies to go with very low prices overseas, but force the U.S. companies, us, consumers, companies meaning insurance companies, hospitals, et cetera, Medicare, to pay a much higher price than we sell the drugs overseas. So I think that's going to change, and I think Donald Trump is going to force that change. And our allies, if you will, our trading partners, are going to have to bear a higher cost.
Well, speaking of our allies, people seem to be upset about us bailing on the big deal with Iran, the Iran nuclear deal. Does that impact the markets? I mean, gas prices are going up.
Yep.
And you always say that's good news.
Well, I say it's good news if it's economically driven, right? I don't say it's good news when I get back from Oregon and their prices. I'm happy to set foot in Idaho.
Well, they pump the gas rates still there, don't they?
Yeah, they do. It's terrible. I mean, you literally have to wait instead of just getting out and doing it. You got to wait in line. It's because they got.
Then they want a tip.
I don't even know. Nobody seemed to want a tip or give a tip. I didn't know what to do. I don't live in Oregon. I didn't tip. Was I supposed to tip?
You want to go back to Oregon?
Okay. Well, I'll avoid those stores again. Anyway, I don't know. I'll try to read up on the correct manners when I go there, but next time. But Kevin, energy prices going up is a good thing if, in fact, it's economically based, not production based. We have plenty of production; they'll keep ramping it up. Iran is very, very marginal in the world. It is not going to matter. And sanctions against them. If you think of it this way, they won't sell to, let's just say, us, but they sell to somebody else. The world uses X amount of oil. It really doesn't matter where it comes from.
Dave
really
Petso joining us finally. Anything else we should be looking out for this week?
Kevin, I just think things are looking very good. I think they're settling in. The earnings reports are about done now. We're up 18% this particular quarter, year over year. So I don't see anything too exciting. I think the most exciting thing right now are the Idaho primary elections.
Care to make a prediction?
No. It would be a guess, wouldn't it? I don't think the polling data has really been. Have you seen one?
I don't believe the polls. I don't think anybody knows what's happening.
I would agree with that. We just saw Marv Hagedorn saying we don't know. We don't know. Nobody knows. We'll see till Election Day.
Dave Petso, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
You're listening to Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Maggie. And blessed to be part of your day, KIDO Talk Radio. Kevin Miller in the morning. Phone numbers 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Joined by Liberal Steve. Good morning, sir.
Hey, buenos dias, Idaho. I wanted to ask the wise man if he thought a gallon of gas was going to hit $4 a gallon, but he went down the road.
Got a call early in the segment.
I did call early in the segment. It held for a half hour. Well, let's not go there. But I totally disagree with him. I was over in Bellevue 2 weekends in a row. Well, actually, Thursday, Friday, and in the Tri-Cities, and what I see happening. And I was over in Stars, over in Middleton, up in Emmett. The crash is about a year and a half away.
All right, thanks. Joining us now, candidate for Congress, State Representative Christy Perry. I thought we had somebody coming in, and if Ray doesn't direct me, I'm lost. So thank you for finding your way into our studio. Good morning.
Oh, good morning. How are you this morning?
Good to have you with us here at KIDO Talk Radio. So the end of the beginning or the beginning of the end?
Well, my husband have decided any way you look at it, we win. So
sure.
Yeah, just by running, you always win.
Well, how is that, though, to put it out there? And you've done this at the state level. And we were talking about this with Dave Petso and Senator Hagedorn. We don't give the folks that run for office enough credit because to go out there, to spend your time, effort, energy, money away from your family, away from your friends, we look at you folks as like human piñatas. Now, I know you've never thought of yourself that way before. But
I have felt that way, so no, that's a good way to put it.
So in the end, what has it been like for you? Has it been a learning experience? And, win, lose, or draw, your thoughts on just the process?
I always love the process. And a matter of fact, I was speaking to someone out in the hallway, and I thought, more people should try to run for an office. If they feel like they have something to give to their community, I think that they should run because the process itself is so, it's affirming in one sense, and it's humbling in another sense. And I think that that's great for everyone to understand. It's exhausting to run this sort of a election, certainly. Sure. Very different from a legislative district. I found that out right off the bat. It's a huge district, a tremendous amount of time, and like I said, exhausting.
I think a lot of people are waiting for that 3rd congressional district, which I think is just going to be like part of Nampa and part of Meridian.
Yeah, I think so. It'd make the travel time far less, I would imagine. But I have met some of the most amazing people up and down this district that are there. And there are times it's an emotional roller coaster to do this because you get beat up so badly, maybe on one hand, and then the next time you'll turn around and you'll just have this wonderful person who really does appreciate public service and what it means. And so it's that emotional roller coaster. If you can survive that one, then you're doing pretty good.
You don't hold anything back. You've had some of the good clips on the trail and during the debates. We used one of your clips where you said, look at what these 54-year-old white men have done. I go, well, I almost resemble that remark.
You almost do. You're not quite 58, are you?
No.
But in my defense, I did say I was married to a 52-year-old white
Sure.
guy who thought the same thing.
Right.
So, we really brought that up because if you looked at Congress and you look at who's running, I mean, how do you start differentiating people? What makes us different? What doesn't
Well,
make us different? And it's our thought process.
No. It's who's pro-Trump. I don't think
Right?
there are a lot of people that are pro-Trump we haven't been, how many people can be pro-Trump in your race?
Oh, my goodness.
You've heard that enough. Huh?
Yes. Yeah.
Christy Perry joining us, a candidate for Congress, state representative. And I didn't mean to interrupt you. And like I said, you don't hold anything back. So here's
put it out there.
And here's another one that, and you could say, well, gosh, does this guy have a life? No, I don't. I watch the debates and I talk about it. When someone said to you that you're no Helen Chenoweth, I thought you were going to go give a judo kick, but you just kind of laughed it off and rolled.
Yeah. I did remind him that I'm packing though, so he might be careful with his words. But yeah, and that's one thing you really do have to learn is to not take things so personal.
How can you?
That takes years probably of practice. It's very difficult, and I think that's a really good point to bring up. It's so incredibly difficult actually for your family members to watch somebody say something about you or treat you a particular way or say some horrible thing on the phone to you because your family members want to get involved and go take matters into their own hands, and it's like, look, it's okay.
That wouldn't be good.
It would not be good. But it's hard for other people to watch. It's something that I've learned, but it's really hard for other people to actually be subjected to that. And people don't understand that what you do to the candidate, their families really take very personal, and it's difficult for them.
Well, and it's funny, and in business, as you know, as a successful business owner, businesswoman, people say it's not personal, it's just business. But when you're out there, it is personal.
It is personal.
Yeah.
It is personal. But there are people who, I think sometimes people say things out of a just frustration of their own, and then there are people who make it very personal, and that's really unfortunate. And you just kind of have to learn how to weed through people, and for the most part, I mean, as a Christian person, I oftentimes see them as hurting themselves, and sometimes that's why they say what they say, because they're injured and they're hurt inside.
Christy Perry joining us, state representative, candidate for Congress. Okay, the state of the campaign, a day out, your thoughts?
A day out. Mm-hmm. I think one thing that I have been thinking about over the weekend is I'm really concerned, I think is a good word, about all the money that has come from out of the state into one particular person's campaign. I mean, we have one person receiving almost $750,000 from an outside special interest group. And to me, that's a huge red flag that I hope people are looking at.
Why? What does that entail?
Because for me, if you and I've been in politics, right? And so you have to be very, very careful about not making promises to people that you can't keep. But when someone comes up and starts pouring $750,000 into an open seat to get the person that they want, the public should be a red flag for them, because how are they not going to feel that they owe that particular group something after they've really almost paid for the election? That's a huge red flag for me. And to put that kind of money, like I said, into an open seat in a state that you know you're probably going to get a Republican.
Sure.
Right?
Right. When we take a look at the differentiation, and let's just expand upon that between you and the others. Again, if we had a Saturday night version here locally, we would have people saying, I'm pro-Trump. No, I'm more pro-Trump. I'm pro-Trump. I'm the proest of the Trump. Differentiating yourself from the other candidates, ma'am.
In that regard, or just overall?
Overall.
I really do think we didn't start out necessarily making the issue about me being the only woman candidate, but as I've traveled across the state, that itself has really risen from the grassroots level. People were actually very excited to see a woman in this race. You don't normally see women run at this particular level, and I think that they've been very excited about that and happy to see that. And we do things differently. And when you brought up the 58-year-old, the average congressman, people don't necessarily believe the average congressman has really done much for them. And I think people are looking for something different. And that's probably the biggest thing that makes me different. Politically, conservatively, we're all very similar in that regard, but I have a different finesse. I have a different leadership style. I have a different thought process. A lot of the things that women deal with on a daily basis, we deal with healthcare, we deal with education, we deal with aging parents. These are all issues that are going to be front and center in Congress and have to be dealt with very soon. I mean, you're looking at a baby boomer generation that Social Security is going to be a big issue. Dementia care, long-term care, these are things that we're going to have to be looking at. And I think those are things that women tend to focus on a little bit more.
Yet when you take a look at the campaign, those issues really weren't discussed. It was
on stage.
Right. And in fairness to everybody running, there should have been more opportunities for everybody to have the compare and contrast. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. So getting back to these issues, Alzheimer's, dementia, Social Security, these are really the nonpartisan bread and butter issues that people care about.
And that people really, truly aren't necessarily talking about.
Right.
But when I went and started talking to people in the coffee shops and where you could gather, they are a big issue. And even at your county level, you have elected officials who are concerned about what are we doing with this opioid crisis? What are we going to do about mental health? We don't have enough people to put into long-term assisted care facilities. I mean, these are real issues that people around this state really are talking about. They just haven't been necessarily talked about like we talked on stage, right? Because you had such a limited amount of time presented where we could be presented to the public. But they are definitely on people's thought processes. Social Security is a real concern also for our seniors right now.
And those of us approaching being a senior. More coming up with State Representative Christy Perry, candidate for Congress, Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. State Representative Christy Perry joining us here, candidate for Congress, KIDO Talk Radio, Kevin Miller in the morning. Now, we never ambush people on this show, so we want to we want to politely invite you to our coverage from the Riverside on Tuesday night at 8 o'clock. We're going to be there if you want to swing by and say hi.
Okay, thank you.
And as you know, as an elected official, it's so important that after this contentious, competitive primary that the Republican Party all comes together.
Mm-hmm. Very important. No, that is very important. Yes, you're looking at me, but I'm agreeing.
There's a little dead air there, but anyway, that was on my part, not yours. So what we've come up with is there's going to be the Unity Rally, as there always is at the State House on Thursday, but we've partnered with the State Party to be at Terry's Cafe in Meridian on Thursday morning. So we're inviting you to join us there.
Okay, thank you.
So we're inviting everybody to come together because we're all on the same team.
Yes. Yep. Yep. You are. Now, I don't know if we're going to make it because I think Wednesday and Thursday we're scheduled for...
See, hold on. There they go again.
For taking signs down from here to...
Well, you know something?
The Canadian border.
I'm with you, but you need some fuel to fuel that. So anyway, that's just an invitation.
There we go. Thank you.
You
True.
know, we get back to a lot of people don't understand the idea of participation and getting people involved. And you've said that everybody should do this. I think, well, it's nothing profound here. People get turned off by the negativity.
I know.
So as someone who has had a positive message and continues that positive message, how do you balance those two things where, as we've seen, it goes negative, that turns people off, then we don't have enough qualified people in the process, and then we get what we get? And
it becomes a vicious cycle. But I think that really rests on the that needs to rest on the shoulders of those people who are running. And unfortunately, when they go and start running negative ads, for people who have studied politics, and that's my background, that's what my degrees are in, they do it because it works. It's unfortunate because it does have an impact on the public. And I think, though, that if the public would start responding and making their comments known and making their choice known that says, hey, we don't like it, I think that we would start seeing some changes in it. But there again, politics is very responsive to the public. And so if the public would interact and say, look, we don't want to see this anymore, I think we'd start seeing some changes in that. I can tell you that when I traveled up and down the district, I got a lot of complaints. People were tired of the negative ads. I think they were engaged to that point, and then that started turning them off. And that's unfortunate. We don't want that. We want to increase engagement, not decrease it.
Indeed. You've come a long way since your announcement, and that was at the Miller's Mission in November. We're getting ready once again next week to go back to Walmart. Gary Franklin, we wanted to thank you again for contributing. It's ironic in a way. That was, your announcement that day, and here we are, as we get ready for our spring edition, once again having you on.
Oh, yes. That worked out well.
But it's always good that public servants give back.
I think so. I think that's what public service is all about, and there's a number of ways to give back. I mean, we brought a turkey that one day. That was little, right?
Not to that family that ate that turkey.
No. But that was the one little thing that we could do. I think, though, that there's a million different ways for everyone in our community to give back. And I think that when public service is truly public service, it's a noble profession when you actually seek to serve others. I think that's what God wants you to do.
Let's talk a little bit about some of the big national news going on. The president bringing the Koreas together, this historic meeting. As an elected member of Congress, your thoughts on our foreign policy? He's blown up the Iranian deal. If you're a member of Congress, if elected, you're going to have to vote on these things. Your thoughts?
I'm very excited about the North Korea and what's going on there. And I know people are coming out and they have a little bit of reticence there. I can understand that because they have a history of saying, yep, we'll do things and then backing off. But you know what? I think you've got to go in with good faith ahead of time. And if you can get something accomplished, absolutely. And I think that we should be supportive of that. The Iran deal, I never liked it at all. I couldn't believe that we paid up front the amount of money that we paid to that regime, and it certainly is a regime. So I'm actually very supportive of that Iran deal and backing out of that deal, actually.
More with Christy Perry coming up next. Traffic and weather together. And there we have it, our great friend Christy Perry talking about growing up in Middleton. Let's go to Jim in Middleton at KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Jim.
Good morning, Kevin. Good morning, Christy.
Good morning.
I wanted to make a comment. One of the biggest turnoffs with people and politicians are mainly campaigning on one thing and then doing another.
Sure.
And personally, I don't care for the negative ads. I'm involved in politics. I listen to it and what have you. And then if it's a negative ad or something that's legitimate, that's one thing. But that's the main thing. I mean, it's a shame to see politicians do what they do, Christy, and I haven't followed you real close, but think about this for just a minute, and then I'll listen to you. People who work at McDonald's are held to a higher standard than our politicians are, because if they did what the politicians did, they'd be fired. And this is what is so sad about politics and politicians.
All right, your thoughts?
Give me an example.
Pardon me?
Give me an example when you talked about it, because I'm
sure.
having trouble. Yeah, just give me a real quick example.
Okay. John McCain, Boehner, Paul Ryan, Jeff Flake, we all campaigned on tightening up the borders, cutting spending, being fiscally conservative.
Mm-hmm.
I can go on and on, Christy. I can give you
Sure.
hundreds of examples.
Oh,
of
okay. I
everything
see what you're saying.
that
Mm-hmm.
these people have campaigned on.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And then they get in office, and they do the opposite times 10.
Sure, and if you
Look at
burn
our
the fries, you get the boot.
23 trillion. Pardon me?
No, I get it. And I think, you have a legitimate complaint there. And I think what happens, though, this is what happens with politicians is they'll stand up there and they're going to tell you they're going to do something, but they're making promises that they cannot keep. When you have anyone standing up there and saying, I'm going to do this, you can't do anything unilaterally. When you're in Congress, you are one of 535 people. You are not doing anything unilaterally. You can create a coalition, and then you can and then you can go from there. But I've never stood up there and said that I will do something. The only promise I've ever made was that I would make the best decision that I could based on the data and the research, and that's what you want out of somebody, not someone who can make an empty promise to you.